Mom says it's my turn on the Xbox.
Hey little stars, my name's Mars, and welcome back to Orbit. This isn't... Where... Oh. Shit. Well, I guess this is fitting. Today I'll be jumping headfirst into one of my favorite rabbit holes, FNAF. Now, if you don't know, I've been a hardcore FNAF fan since day one. I was in middle school when the game came out, and I have a vivid memory of being in gym class, and my friends ran over to me and were like, yo, look at this new game. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. And then from that point on, we became obsessed. We actively followed the teasers, every new game, every announcement, every game theory. I started getting into online fan comics, fandom spaces, making my own OCs, drawing tons of fan art. And while a lot of it has aged like milk, I still appreciate it for what it was to me. Like, yes, Tony Crynite series was my Roman Empire. Yes, I read the 𝚘𝚅𝚗𝚗𝚜 comics. Yes, I binged fan animations like 5 a.m. at Freddy's. Yes, I watched playthroughs of every fan game ever made. Need I continue? I was rabid. Markiplier was king. Teasers were coming out consistently. The fandom was thriving, and I was swimming in my cringe like it was a hot pool on a summer's day. Fast forward to high school graduation though, and security breach drops. Now give it all the flack you want, it's absolutely got issues. But there was something that happened when that game came out, and I feel like I never see anyone talk about it. A resurgence. A renaissance even. People were making FNAF OCs again like never before. The Glamrock line of animatronics opened the door for a whole new level of personality, customization, and flexibility for artists to make some truly impressive animatronics of their own. With the scope of the 𝚃𝚊𝚗𝚗𝚜 being almost infinite, characters had more than a tiny restaurant to explore. They had an entire area they could operate and dedicate themselves to. Daycare attendants, rideable animatronics, maintenance bots, additional band members, you name it, someone made it. It was so inspiring and exciting to see, but I feel like since the buzz around the game passed, it's not something I've seen people really point out. So today I'm going to be drawing the OG band and the Glamrock band in my style. Then I'll be making an original character in their OG form and in their Glamrock form. I wanted to draw both ends of the timeline to relive both of the different eras. I hope I can inspire you guys to maybe make some of your own FNAF OCs. They're really self-indulgent. If you do, you should consider joining our Discord server so that you can share it with other silly little stars like me. Wink wink. Starting off with the OG band, I decided to do Freddy first, Mr. himself. I know I could have gone for the rubber faces, but I'm just really fond of the fursuit shapes in the originals, so I'm gonna do that, but in my own style. I knew I wanted Freddy to be big. Really wide and tall, really full cheeks, big hands. Now I don't know anything about animatronics or how they're actually like built or anything, but I do know about ball jointed dolls, so I'm using that as my mental blueprint for these guys. I knew I wanted to keep the handprint on his face. Looking back, I think it got kind of lost in the shading and the lighting in the end, but it's okay, because now that you've watched this, you know that it's there. Right? Didn't want to change their actual designs too much. I more so just wanted to adapt the silhouettes. I feel like their designs are just so iconic, you know, the colors and, you know, the bow tie and the top hat and whatnot. So I felt like there are things about these OG guys that I just really couldn't change. For lack of kind of losing the character, because they are so simple. I feel like there's not a whole ton that I could do without making them unrecognizable. Bonnie, I knew I had to make unreasonably uncanny. I gave him an almost skull-shaped head with really pronounced cheekbones and taller eye sockets. Fun fact, Bonnie is the only one in the gang that doesn't have eyebrows. I think that's a really big reason why he's uncanny as he is. And he's also the one that Scott is canonically scared of the most. So I kept the no eyebrows approach, and I think it works really well. I kind of struggled a little bit drawing his guitar because That thing is big. Takes up a lot of space, you know? But yeah, I think he came out okay. I feel like there was more I could have done with him, but at the same time, I also don't feel like there was more I could have done with him. 𝚘𝚊𝚗𝚐𝚕𝚒 I struggled with a bit because I don't often draw birds, much less chickens, so I had to play with the shapes a bit until I decided on an idea, but I'm really happy with her now. I gave her a little lazy eye socket so she can watch Carl with. I love Carl. He's so adorable. I love that guy. He's my new bird. Anyways, I wanted to keep her round, but I also wanted to give her a little more figure than they actually bless her with in that first game. So I gave her some nice full hips. I've always felt that she should have wings instead of hands, or at least like wings on the arms. Because if you take away the beak, she really just a naked emoji person. So I gave her wings. But Mars, how does she hold the cupcake? First of all, she has a name. His name is Carl. And second of all, the plate has a magnet, and that magnet snaps to a magnet in her wings. But that wouldn't work. Shh, 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 shh. You're in my domain now. I don't know shit about animatronics, and this one's not real. So suspend your disbelief and live a little. Next up is Foxy, my favorite guy! Sweet little janky lanky boy. Foxy has been my favorite since day one. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a good fox/wolf character with weird lore. Like, come on now. I love a good little weirdo, you know? For his design, I wanted to play up the tattered and worn look, like the staff had been actually taking spare parts from him to fix the other animatronics. He's got a busted jaw. I wonder why. And I just had to give him the hook, you know? I also wanted him to be the tallest in the group, but with how tall he ended up being, he's kind of dragging his ears on the roof, but I think that adds to the scare charm. Like, imagine him standing at the end of a hallway, taking up all the vertical space he can, before ducking and sprinting at you full speed in the dark. Like, it's good shit, it's good shit. And that's the OG gang. I'm really pleased with their designs. I do feel like I could have gone a little more with Bonnie, but I'm still satisfied overall. I didn't want to change these guys too much, honestly. Like I said, they're too iconic to me. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Now moving on to... Oh! Okay. Oh. Yeah, I can work with this. Next is the Glamrock band. I was so excited about these. As much as I love drawing horror, I'm also a sucker for some over-the-top character designs, and these guys just have so much personality for me to draw from that it wasn't too hard to get my ideas down. In preparation for this drawing, I did watch Markiplier's playthrough of Security Breach, and oh dog, I don't think I've ever seen a more unfortunate series of events.
Now, Freddy, now, Freddy! Not like this, please. Give me in! Freddy! Freddy, you bitch!
But that playthrough really defined Freddy's personality for me. The biggest himbo you ever seen. All heart, no brains. Little slow, but he's got the spirit, you know? I wanted to give him a little bit more of a dad bod. Lots of round features, bigger ears to make him look more cuddly, and a little bit more of like a fuller stomach instead of the snatched waist that they give everybody in this game. I don't know. I just wanted him to look more cuddly. The biggest change I made was I gave him pants. I think the band is playing some kind of sad joke on him, because why is he the only one in this whole building who is totally naked? Give that man some pants, please. I did fight quite a bit with the color for the pants, because I also didn't want it to look too, like, superhero. But I think in the end I found a decent balance. I could not help but jump into doing Monty next. I adore him so much. When the band was originally revealed, I was sure my favorite would be Roxy, but then...
Rock and roll.
whatever you say, honey. So yeah, I love this guy. I wanted him to be the giant this time around. I imagine this makes him a little bit slower because of all the mass, but I guess it would balance out with Roxy and Chica speeds. And yes, I gave him one Animal Jam ass spiked collar, and what? I thought about having him hold his guitar, but I got kind of lazy, to be honest. I moved some of his colors around to make him a little bit more stylized to my liking, but I'm so proud of how he turned out. He's so fine. Moving on to Chica, I had my gripes with her design when they originally announced it. Ooh. At first the white wasn't really vibing with me. It did end up growing on me later, but at first I was like, huh? The earrings super glued to the side of her head always bothered me. And again, still no wings, so they were definitely things. So I decided to try and improve on them in my version. I wanted to keep her hands for this version because she actually interacts with people more than anything. So she does need to actually be able to hold stuff, but I still gave her some wings to make her feel more like a bird or chicken or whatever. I did try the bow at first, but ultimately I decided I didn't actually like it that much. And I went with a classic scrunchie instead to fit the aesthetics. And I also decided to give her more hair and give her a ponytail that kind of looks like a rooster's tail, at least in like shape language. If Roxy and Monty can have cool hair, why can't she? You know, give the girl some hair. Give her a lace front or something, I don't know. I also gave her a little like tail tuft for fun because I like giving my characters tails. Last but never least, Best Girl Roxy has a near flawless design. Clearly. She is the best. I didn't really feel the need to change a thing about her, honestly. The hair, the fit, the superiority complex. Hey man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I gave her a spikier collar, a slightly bigger chest than Chica, who's relatively flat. Changed some of her colors around a tiny bit, and I also changed her makeup a little. But otherwise, she is flawless, and I can't fix perfection. And with that, the Glamrock band is done! I'm really happy with them. I like the color changes I made, and especially the changes I made to Chica. But I'm really curious, what do you guys think? Should I have held back more? Should I have gone even more buck wild? Let me know down below. Finally, moving on to the main course of this meal, the OC. It's time to cook up a cool new character to join this world. Well, almost new? I'm basically going to refurbish an old OC design I had, and I'm going to use the same concept but with an entirely new look. What concept is that, you ponder? Well, knowing how Fazbear Entertainment likes to save money, it wouldn't surprise me if they decided to find a way to save costs and time by creating a machine that can perform small, easy maintenance tasks around the establishment. Or perhaps instead of a machine, an animatronic? Something small enough to be able to handle regular-sized tools, but friendly enough to be able to perform repairs during the day without completely disappointing kids or breaking their immersion. Like, if an arcade cabinet goes out, they can send out this character instead of paying a maintenance worker, and it's like a cool, rare character for the kids, so they're like distracted from the broken cabinet. I decided to go with a mouse because I immediately thought it would be the best animal to imagine shimmying through small spaces. And I also figure that when kids see rats or mice in the restaurants, the staff can just be like, psh, it's just a character making repairs. Shh, don't tell your parents. Seems on brand for them, I don't know. Starting with the FNAF 1 version of this character, I wanted him to be a little bit more of like a walking, glorified toolbox that's interesting enough to distract the kids. I imagine that there's like maybe a maintenance worker that has to like accompany him sometimes if the task is like too much for him to handle on his own. And then he just stands there with his chest cavity open like a literal glorified toolbox. I didn't want to make it too complex so that he'd still look in uniform with the other animatronics around him, but I did make him notably shorter and smaller than the others, like they were trying really hard to make him kid-sized. He's got a shirt collar instead of a bow or a tie to hint that he uses with maintenance, and I also gave him some goggles because I thought it would be a nice touch. I also added these stickers or like patches that say stuff like danger, I'm working, almost like a service dog's vest, all along the arms. The colors for this one didn't give me too much trouble because I knew I wanted to keep to a limited palette. I just spent some time playing with the accent colors. I feel like in this part of the timeline, he'd be a little bit like Dolores from Encanto, where he has some kind of awareness that something is up, but all he, because he does all the basic repairs, he sees everything, but he was only meant to be maintenance, so he never got a voice box, so he can't say anything about it. He's seen some shit, but like, I also don't think that he'd get like stuffed. I don't know how much you'd be able to fit in there with all the tools and stuff, but hey, what do I know? Where we're at presently, sky's the freaking limit. Over time, scope of this universe and its lore has grown. It was easy to immerse yourself in FNAF 1 because as far as you could tell, everything that was happening was fairly believable. Real corporations are negligent and ridiculous. The setting and animatronics parallel real life locations and creations, and of course, horrible, cruel people have always existed. The most you had to suspend your disbelief for was the fact that they could walk around, and the fact that you could fit an entire kid in there, let alone a person. But with every game, the sci-fi aspects added have grown to overshadow any horror the games might have had before, which is a little unfortunate because it was kind of my favorite part. I was a really gullible, scared kid. Like, I couldn't handle horror movies, couldn't handle horror shows, I couldn't do it, Halloween was like, it was a miracle I got through Halloween as well as I did. But then FNAF came around and there was, I don't know, something drew me so heavily to the franchise and the games that it kind of helped me get over my fear of stuff like the dark and like monsters and stuff like that. So I don't know. I kind of miss it. Not to say that, the direction they're taking now is bad, but it's definitely not what it was. This definitely isn't where I thought we would be in 10 years, but it's not a bad place to be, not entirely, For his security breach model, I wanted to make him even smaller. Technologically, at this point in the timeline, the animatronics have such wildly exaggerated abilities and features that making an animatronic this small is probably nothing new. But I also knew that I didn't want to make them like mini Music Man small, Though that would be cool as fuck. I decided to give him a pompadour for his hair, harkening back to the movie Grease and its iconic looks for those motor-revving boys. I did, however, fight a war with myself to decide what his color palette would look like. I must have tried at least 50 different combinations or more, so if he looks a little disco at some point, just ignore it. I made the stomach hatch smaller, not opening the chest cavity in this version. He honestly doesn't need to carry too many tools on hand besides maybe like a Faz wrench. Considering Monty can do this, and Freddy can do this, I don't think it's a stretch to assume that this guy can do this. I think between the Super Robo Wrench 3000 and the utility knife hands, he's more than capable of performing at least minor fixes to arcade cabinets, staff bots, soda machines, photo booths, etc. And he also gets a voice box in this version, so he can help lost kids or explain to dumb parents that something is broken and that their kid can not, in fact, play with it. I kept the candy pouch though because I feel like it's kind of an important part of his character at this point. I imagine him having an assortment of different candies for different allergies and diets and stuff, and I bet he gets them from Sun and Moon. I bet he gets called to fix the lights often and has to spend a lot of time reasoning with Moon. He also probably spends a ton of time in the arcade with DJ Music Man, and I can totally imagine them like traversing the area through the tunnels together, or like him riding on DJ's back. In my opinion, coming up with ideas on how your character interacts with others in its world is one of the most exciting parts of making an OC. Figuring out all the relationship dynamics between characters can be really satisfying and make the characters feel more real, for lack of a better word. I think it's a big reason why old FNAF animations and comics focus so heavily on the interpersonal relationships between the animatronic characters, oftentimes ignoring the obvious plot point that there are dead kids, like dead 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds and inside of these guys, and not quirky young adults with witty banter and romantic relationships. Sure, it ignores, important lore, but people had so much fun playing with these ideas, and it's surprising people dogged on Security Breach's characters as much as they did because of it. Like, 𝚘𝚎𝚘𝚗 gave us a cast of characters so heavily influenced by the wild dynamics that we, the fandom, have been writing and drawing about for years, that it's a little ridiculous to me that anybody can be like that upset about this. No, they're not scary anymore. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be a horror game, but like, the lore is also supposed to make sense, and the game is also supposed to run without crashing. And the 𝚘𝚘𝚘𝚗 is so vast and colorful most of the time that it's kind of hard for them to have been scary, even if the animatronics were different. So I think I'll take my wins where I can, you know? If you want a game to scare you shitless, you can play any of the other FNAF games. But if you want a game to indulge in a cool group of characters and have an overpowered best friend, and maybe go on like a million fetch quests, then, I mean, hey, you can play Security Breach. We're allowed to change things up a little. There's a lot more I could say, but I should probably bite my tongue now.
Connection terminated.
Here's the finished results. Once I added in the backgrounds, it really came together and made him feel like an actual real character. I'm really, really happy about both of these designs, and now is the hard part. Thinking of a name. Since he's a mouse, maybe Motor the Mouse? Oh, like Motor Mouse? Motor Mouse? I know once we get to Security Breach, the naming convention kind of dies with Roxy and Monty, but since this character is supposed to have existed prior to Security Breach, I wanted to stick to it anyways. What do you- oh, we're back here now, okay. What do you guys think of Motor? What should I have done differently? Would you guys want to see me draw other FNAF characters? And if so, who? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. It's been a blast drawing these guys, and I hope you guys let me know what you want to see next. Mars, over and out. I said over and out. Oh, great.
I always come